Hello, this is Steven out, and yes, we are back with part 3 of the Sopranos video. We've already done the series, the TV show, the first half and second half. Already did that, and now we're reviewing the Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos movie that came out if I recall correctly, it came out in 2021. So really not that long ago, maybe 2 years at least ago. Anyway, but before I get into maybe explaining about the film, personal opinion, let's get into the cast. First off, let's look at the cast. First off, Michael Gandolfini plays a young Tony Soprano. Now, unfortunately, the late James Gandolfini unfortunately passed away. I believe it was in 2017. And so when this film was coming to be made, and the young Tony Soprano, they chose to basically cast James's son. And despite what the critics may think of the film, and very few people have criticized the son's performance here. He basically, first of all, has a lot to live up to. He's living up to the huge legacy of course, of James Gandolfini's most iconic television character performance. But the fact that you're now having to live up to that, not from a great actor, but the fact that you are that actor's son, that's naturally going to draw a lot of attention, and I would almost say a lot of just eyes. And the fact that he won most people over is absolutely fantastic. Now, the most of the cast here is mostly people playing younger members of basically when the people we've seen in the series were much younger. Of course, such as Johnny Boy Soprano, who, for me, played by John Bernthal, who of course I best remember as playing the Punisher, and I'm sure most people from the Walking Dead series, I never seen that. But basically, when I see Johnny Boy Soprano, we've seen him several times in the show, but here we get to see him really more up close. I mean, he was always shown in flashbacks in the original series, but here, I get where Tony kind of modeled some of his personality off. And we also here get to see Dicky Moltisanti, portrayed by Alessandro Nivola. Probably butchering that name. And basically, he is Christopher's father. And in the show, Tony used to mention Dicky Moltisanti a lot, and basically saying how the guy was practically a mentor to him, almost an older brother. And for me, what I absolutely love about these two characters, I can really see where Tony modeled a bit of his personality. I could see bits of Tony in these characters and how it affects. Johnny Boy plays more like a gangster, and I'd say the more negative aspects of Tony's character. Dicky Moltisanti, for the most part, I like him, except for one storyline. I'll explain that later. Other people, younger cast members, characters from the show come back here, played by younger actors, is, in the back here, Junior Soprano. You know, Corrado Soprano Jr., Johnny's basically brother, and Tony's uncle. And honestly, Coriosto, probably butchering that name, I'm sorry, but I prefer the original Junior from the series. I'm sorry, it's just, I guess it's just no one could really hold a candle to that. And I honestly think that goes the same for those honestly playing the roles of like Paulie Walnuts or Silvio Dante, even Pussy Bumpin' Sarah. No offense to the actors, but honestly, when I imagine these characters, I imagine who played them on the original show. It's just, I understand they're trying to basically imitate, life imitates art. But for me, for the most part, they just, in my honest opinion, I feel they just fall a bit flat for me. Again, that's just me. Now, let's have a talk about a great bit of casting. Olivia Soprano, portrayed by Farina Farmiga. I'm probably butchering the actress's name, do not mean to, but boy, does she look like the Olivia from the original show, but younger. And honestly, she is just like James Gandolfini did for me. She's absolutely, not James Gandolfini, sorry, Michael Gandolfini. She's just killing it in this role, and she is just perfectly casted, perfectly well done. No one else could do this role better. Now there's the character that Ray Liotta plays. He plays two characters, Dicky's father and Dicky's father's brother. Now, this ain't the first time we've seen twins done on the show. But, honestly, I just felt that, honestly, this is not a role perfectly suited for Liotta. He should have just played, really, in my opinion, the boss of the New Jersey mob family around this time. That's at least what I would have had him play, but that's just, honestly, me. I don't know, just something a bit off about him playing two characters. However, despite that, I do feel there is one character I do prefer when he played the twin brother Locked Up, as it kind of become more of a mentor figure to, a little bit mentor figure. And that's just, honestly, me personally. I just feel like these characters are kind of off. Other characters we get to see in this movie are included basically Dicky Moltisante's mistress love interest, who is actually married to Dicky's father, but then after an incident, she continues a relationship with basically Dicky. It's a weird thing. I'll explain a little bit more. And we have a character that was actually introduced way back in the show, but was more of a cameo that you really didn't pick up. I believe the character's name was... let's see, I have it written down. Harold McBride, who is played by Lisa Odom Jr. And if I recall correctly, in the show, he was like this politician type, an African-American. And here we get to see how he started out younger as being kind of associated with this whole, New York mob during, not New York, New Jersey mob during its early infancy. Anyway, but with the cast out of the way, let's really get into the movie and personal thinking about it. Basically, the whole premise of the movie, with the whole storyline, because I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, is basically Dicky Moltisanti, father comes to New Jersey, and basically it's really more his story than it is of Tony's, and it explores really what was the environment in New Jersey around this time, with the whole Newark riots, the racial profiling, a little bit of that. And I do find it interesting, we get to follow the story of the main lead through Dicky Moltisanti. And again, I feel that just like Johnny Boy, I could see what molded Tony to be who he is. And, there's moments where it reminds you of the old show, but there's something about this film that is just off. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not bad, but there's something just off about this film for me. And, I think one of the things that just turned me off was, when watching this, was Dicky's relationship that he develops with, essentially, his father's new wife. That is just, I don't know, something's just way off about that relationship to me. However, I do like one thing. We get to really get a more of an insight, I think more in this film than we ever did in the show, really what Tony's home life was. And how clearly the reality of how he remembers things during the show is very much contrasted to what it was in real life at the time, which really gets to show, I think, which really makes it interesting to really see how Tony really remembers things. Unfortunately, this does, of course, lead to the death of Dicky Moltisanti. Now, in the show, it was left up to interpretation who really killed him. But here in the movie, it's pretty much because of Junior. But it does stay true to Junior's character, because he is, even though he was always a little bit petty. More so, I think, anyone else, maybe than in the Soprano crew, he was always petty, and it's especially shown because his brother is clearly the more favorite brother, despite the fact Johnny's actually the younger brother. So I do kind of get that. Again, some of the cast for me is mixed, but honestly, despite some of that cast really more up to interpretation, I don't mind this film. It's a nice little continuation. But however, if I could just be blunt and honest, I would have really loved The Many Saints of Newark to be less of a movie, but a mini-series. Because, first off, this was meant to be Tony doesn't really appear that much in the movie, which is a shame, because I would really have loved to see that. Understood, but however, at the same time, I did understand going into it that he may not play much of a role, But I still would have just really wanted to see more, especially because the promotion material was really meant to say that, you know, Tony was going to be a really big character in this movie, but it was mostly Dickie. I find it interesting they use Dickie Moltisanti as all people. We've heard of him before, but we've never seen him until now, except maybe in photos or during the original show, but still, the fact they chose to use Dickie of all people. However, I do like how the film opens. I feel it's a really good creative choice, and how it ends is really good. It's just some of the middle part is mixed. I like the ideas that we're trying to go for, but I just felt it was just flat. Flat or just wasn't executed as right. I'm not trying to be too critical or judgy, because I really don't mind this film, but I can see why people just might not be a fan, or it might upset really those who really loved the show. But in my opinion, it's its own thing, and it's just a possible story for really only for hardcore fans to really watch, or even casual fans to at least give it a go. Anyway, I'm heads or tails how I still feel about this film. Even when I was going to write stuff with how I personally felt about this film, I still couldn't find a word how to fully accurately describe how I feel about the movie. But hey, that's just my personal opinion. Maybe write in the comment section how you feel about this film, and give me your honest opinion. Do you like it or do you hate it? For me, I'm stuck in the middle. In conclusion, the Sopranos series and its movie are truly great forms of entertainment, and definitely provide something new and interesting. It's up to you whether you love it or you hate it. But with that out of the way, how do I personally rate The Sopranos? Well, there's only one way I could rate it. I rate this series out of 5 out of 5 stars. This series is truly a greatest achievements in television, pushing boundaries, what could be seen on television, creating a character that had not been really introduced or seen to audiences before. You just could not appreciate. I can't. There's no words to fully appreciate what this series has done. True, it has been memed a lot. It has definitely been referenced a lot. And of course, it had a huge influence on giving us shows where we follow an anti-hero. But this was unique, as the anti-hero devolved into becoming a completely different character to where we started off with. Honestly, the creative team really gave us truly a fantastic series that I still watch whenever it pops up, or even when I'm bored. It's probably one of the many series I'm always chasing to watch whenever I'm in the mood. It is a really great series. And there we have it. That was part 3 of The Sopranos. Did you enjoy it? Sorry, it stretched a bit longer than I had anticipated, but things just kept coming up, forcing me to push back on finishing reviewing this series. But anyway, we are now at the end of the Stephen Hour television review series. But hopefully next time, within the next few months, or whenever I get around to it, the next television series I'll be reviewing will be Lucifer. So stick around to that when I get around to reviewing that series, hopefully some point in the next few months. But anyway, this has been the Stephen Hour. Very, very sorry about the long stretches of time that I've been putting these videos out. I will try and do my best to really get a more consistent and cohesive releasing with these videos. But until next time, this has been the Stephen Hour. And ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.